Hello, friends. This is Johnster Monster of episode 229 of Shadow and Flame with Magic, your premier Kitty Pride, Lockheed, and Magic podcast. Today, we are launching our Dark Web Summary event with New Mutants Volume 428. And then we're going to dive deep with Magic and Colossus 4, Uncanny X-Men Volume 628, and then very quickly Wolverine Volume 820, Ultimate Endgame 4, and Iron Man 5. Um, but first, in the news, they announced that the Midnight Universe is going to be launched with three titles: Fantastic Four, Spider-Man, and the X-Men. Which I'm excited that it's a small line, but not but. And the X-Men titles written by Krakoa head of X, Jonathan Hickman, art by Matteo Della Fonte. And what we know for sure is that Midnight Crawler is hunting vampires, including Vampire Storm. So Vampire Storm's always a winner. So we will be pre-ordering that at least. Ideally, Kitty Pryde to be in it, Magic could be in it. Um, and then we also got announced that Ashley Allen's writing Tomb of Apocalypse with D'Amico Carbone, and it's going to be about Apocalypse, and it'll be starring Logan and Jubilee. So I love Ashley Allen, but I'm not a big Apocalypse, Logan, or Jubilee fan. I mean, I like all three of them, but you know, that's a giant hurdle to jump over that. But we'll at least be reviewing it. Um, And then, I'm not gonna get his name correctly, but the writer of the current Cyclops miniseries, you know him and love him, Alex Pacadell, is writing the What If Secret Wars, and he showed the cover on Blue Sky, and I was like, "Hey, any chance Ultimate Shadow Cat would be in it?" And he gave me a Tony Stark gif response of maybe. So that's pretty awesome. In my heart, I want to be like, "Hey, you want to be on a podcast to promote it?" But I was like, "Ugh, I'm not gonna do that." Though Mark Guggenheim said that he would do it, and then I DM'd him and then never heard a response back. So I was like, all right, well, he was probably just being friendly in the thread, but I was like, oh, that would have been cool. We could have talked about X-Men Gold. So if you know Mark Guggenheim, maybe give him a little prod. Speaking of which, hey, if you want me on your podcast or you want to be on the podcast, let me know. I'm pretty open. We don't have to talk about the X-Men. We can talk about something else for 20 minutes. Um, Might as well, right? It'll be fun to get more guests. And maybe I'll get more confidence to be like, hey, will you want to be on a podcast? But I don't know. And then there was a moment like an hour later, I was like, oh, just do it. I was like, no. But we've had good interactions, Alex and I, Mr. Packnadell. Um, ugh, well, it's too late now, right? Probably. All right. So, New Mutants Volume 428, the final chapter of um The Labors of Magic. We'll get into how this ties into Dark Web at the end. This comic came out in October 2022. The cast is Magic, Madeline Pryor, Danny Moonstar, Wolfsbane, and Colossus, and then Sim is also in here. I would not have promoted him. The writer is Vita Alaa. This was a legendary creative team. The artist for the main story is Rod Rice. The flashback artist is Jan Dorisima. Colorist Ruth Redmond. VC's Travis Nathan for letter and production. And um, no, I was doing this for the summer, but there's a part of me that wants to delay a week when Masters of the Universe comes out because I do have one Masters of the Universe comic, and I'm not sure when we'll ever get a chance to cover that. But it's like, well, do I do it after the fact? But I'm like, well, then we've missed the Masters of the Universe. moment in time. But then we'll be doing an episode post the Spider-Man Brand New Day. Hey everyone, we're doing the Dark Web event because it's our connection to Spider-Man Brand New Day. Um, it was that or Eight Deaths of Spider-Man, and I was like, you know what? I'd rather own a bunch of Krakoa Dark Web comics. But the next Spider-Man movie would probably be Eight Deaths. Either way, I had to buy a bunch of comics to do it. So in the world of doing it, I might as well get the Krakoa issues, right? Plus, it comes first. Anyways, so this is book four, Labors of Magic. Weary of pulling triple duty as Queen of Labor, Queen of Limbo, leader of the New Mutants and War Captain Ilyana Rasputin, aka Magik, brought Madeline Pryor to Limbo to offer her the throne, ignoring the protests of her friends who mistrust the Goblin Queen's intentions. But before the deal could be sealed, the demon Sim attacked, empowered by the unknown entity, and during the battle, Magik's soul sword shattered, leaving her unable to return to Krakoa. But other strange magics are afoot. Thanks to Limbo's distortion of time, Magik encountered both an older and a younger version of herself, confronting the demons of her past and possible future. Knowing Magik would need help, the child Ileana wove a spell to bring her brother Colossus to Limbo. Now, Magik and her friends must find the orchestrator of this chaos and put an end to the war for the throne of Limbo. And you can follow along on TikTok and YouTube channels at JackalsIII. I would not be doing the panels only posts on Sundays like I traditionally do because Magic's in like 26 of these pages of the 30. So that's not right. It's like 18 pages of the 20. And um, so yeah, don't want Marvel to send me a cease and desist of like, hey, you can't be putting full comics on the online for like a minute and 13, 15 seconds. So, anyways, um, so the issue opens with Magic's trying to regain her soul sword, but getting cool other shapes and weapons out of it. Everyone's getting restless in the cave, but they are spending this time training Madeline Pryor how to use magic, as the deal is that once also I was like, did I do the cover? But I did. Um once they're free, Ileana's gonna give Madeline Pryor Limbo and she could be the ruler of it. Danny's not trusting that Madeline will do this pure of heart, and Madeline gives a great page of why she would do it perfectly. And it's like, oh Danny, come on. And Colossus is nice enough to be like, hey, everyone deserves two or three chances. He's on his third, and they're gonna work on it. It'll be a cool flashback sequence. Oh man, remember Exterminators? I still volume two. I still need to get Kitty Magic are not in the first issue, but I still need to get issues two through five on my wish list. Um, so all these demons of Limbo are just like, we want to fight, and then finally the doors break down and they get their big old fight they wanted. And Sim comes out like, I'm going to defeat you. Like, I'm going to defeat you. And Ileana's just like, I defeat you every time. Let's do this. Except then she gets hit on the head. And who hit her on the head? Well, this jerk. It's a magic of what alternate reality of where she did free herself from limbo, but then once the X-Men were like, "Oh, okay, sorry you became a teenager," she just went back to defending ruling Limbo. And so, which will explain why Magic's not been at full power this whole time, as she's been taking it. And we get a cool data page of the secret history of Queen Ileana Rasputina. And it starts off with her being born, Ileana Nekovovina Rasputina. Then Colossus becomes a member of the X-Men. Ileana's kidnapped by Arcade not named here. And then Ileana is abducted by Belasco. And then in Limbo, Ileana is trained by an alternate version of Aurora Monroe, now aged, powerful sorceress, and then Kitty Pryde, now a deadly assassin, before being recaptured by Belasco. And then Belisco gets defeated by Ileana. After training for years, Ileana uses her soul sword to defeat Belasco. And then Ileana returns to Earth, but decides to stay in Limbo and clean it up. Ileana spends a year rooting out any and all demons who oppose her, for example, Sim. And then deciding to get even stronger, she kidnaps the Enchantress and then absorbs all the power of the Dark Child. And then issue New Mutants 50, Volume 1 came out, where Magus comes to attack the New Mutants in Limbo, and half the New Mutants die, and as does Magus. And then a pretty cool design, like, it implies there's more history, but it does end with, and then Limbo happened, and Ileana manages to squash the uprising through mini, and it's like, all right. And this Queen Ileana is very much quoting because Sun Tzu, and then all of a sudden the Queen gives out an O face as Madeline Pryor attacks her from behind using her Sith, which will be a very important tool during Dark Web. And the Dark Web is when the clones, Madeline Pryor and Ben Reilly, decide to get what they want. And, well, we'll get to it. But but first, it's like Madeline Pryor's first big thing as the um, Queen of Limbo. And so I thought it would be smart to start with her actually becoming Queen of Limbo. So Queen Ileana dies. Our magic gets a cool Sailor Moon power sequence, and the Chris Bacalo Black Booty short design retires, and we get the brand new New Mutants design, which is pretty cool. I mean, I like the Chris Bacalo costume, and it's very popular. But I do like the idea that she's on a team called the New Mutants, that she will wear more gold and black colors. And then when she's representing herself in a team, she will go back to the black outfit. And that works. No, that makes sense to me. I see her philosophy of it, and yeah. And then Sim gets defeated, which we love to see. We get a report via data page. I love so much that Magic can't spell certain words. Like we learn in Tennis Words that she thinks magic is spelled with a K and not a C. She has a hard time spelling experiment and fundamentals, which if you ever see me use the word ridiculous online, just know that I did not spell that correctly the first time. I cannot do that word. And she assures whoever's reading this memo that she wasn't possessed, mind controlled, or drunk, which is just fun. And also, she no longer needs to go to Limbo to teleport anywhere. She just opens a portal, goes from point A to B, and which I know some people pointed out during the Hellfire visual that she did not need to go Limbo to teleport Colossus from Russia to the it's not the big garden. It's the Big Apple, not the Secret Garden. Karen Street. No. What is the garden in New York City called that the X-Men lived? Central Park. No, what my pronoun was. I started with the word garden. Central Park, where the Hellfire visual was. Remember when Dazzler was captured by the Warden Ellis? Anyways, we'll get to that later. Um, But anyway, so in the Hellfire visual, she teleports Colossus from Russia, puts him in limbo, removes his beard, which was my only issue with that sequence, and then took him to Central Park and people were like, she doesn't go to limbo anymore. And it's like, well, clearly she wanted to go to limbo to remove his beard, I guess. Anyways, so Colossus and Magik are chatting. They're trying to just bury the hatchet yet again. It is what they do now. Ileana gives such a great, powerful line here. And I think issue 27, is that or 26 or 27, that would make me cry every time, where she's talking to her younger self and is saying how she's enough. And it's just like, oh my, like, I don't know. If I ever want to cry, that's the issue to read. And now I feel like I should look up what that issue is. It would be something that rhymes with New Mutants. I want to type in New Mutants Volume 4 Cry. Yeah, issue 27. Oh, yeah. Her younger self tells her that she could do anything. And it's just like, oh, she has such a great pouty face, too. Anyways, this is by far one of the best arcs of New Mutants ever. Yeah, I don't know what the other competitors are. The Demon Bear? Yeah. I mean, Danny going to Asgard's definitely not on that list. Issue 50 is pretty cool, I guess. The Limbo is the Inferno tie-in issues. The opening arc, not really. The graphic novel, sure. Is there anything from volume two? Danny adopting Elixir and then being like, "Oh, I completely forgot about him." Oh, I'm sorry, Volume 3. Um, oh, it's not Mike Carey. Who's the guy who wrote Volume 3, New Mutants? Um, but yeah, like he had the Elder Gods, like that whole thing. That Volume 3 is a legit great arc. New? And thank you, dear viewer. I know you're like, this guy wrote, it's not Christos Stage Cage. Volume 3. Zeb Wells. Oh, of course, Zeb Wells. I mean, the first 25 issues is legit such a great comic. Um, anyway, so here we get the great line of Ileana saying, I spent much of my life angry, angry at what was done to me, angry at what I did to others because I can't control the darkness inside of me. Being angry is easy for me, comfortable, but what's beneath that is hurt, so much hurt. I'm so tired of hurting. And it's like, oh, Ileana, heartbreaking. And then we see some jerk demon trying to create an uprising in Limbo, and the queen beheads him. And long live the queen, long live the queen indeed. Madeline Pryor's the queen of Limbo. And then I think there's one more issue before we get to the official dark web. And then there's a whole flashback sequence where Ileana saves this wizard guy and doing like a distraction spell, so Sim runs away. And so this guy's eternally thankful for Ileana. And so he gives this little guy a book to give to Ileana, who will be inspired to use that book to become a strong wizard and then save that guy. So it's a nice time loop. Remember Judgment Day? I've read only portions of it and definitely none of the Avenger stuff, so I don't really remember Judgment Day too well. I know Lockheed shows up for a panel, one thing, and I think Magik for two panels, and one of those panels she like vaporizes in. I don't know. If Marvel or if we ever get the Judgment Day MCU movie, which with how they pretend like Eternals never happened, I don't think we ever get Judgment Day. But I also don't think we're ever going to get no more mutants, right? Because if the MCU ever makes that, they're going to have to, um, I don't know, you have to give us like 10 X-Men projects, right? And then people will love the X-Men and the Scarlet Witch shows up and goes, no more mutants. But I don't know if Elizabeth Olsen 20 years from now is going to be like, yeah, I'll still be the Scarlet Witch. I don't know. MCU X-Men, I mean, we gotta have Rogue take Carol's powers at one point, right? And then from there, she joins the X-Men in movie two. No, it's the only thing I know for sure. And then Miss Marvel will have to be part of the X-Men. Um, and of course, gotta give us Kitty Pryde and Magic, right? And Loki's already a movie star, so you can put him in a movie. Hey, the audience knows Dragon. Anyways. So that everyone was New Mutants Volume 428. And let's get into our rest of the books of this week. Spoilers ahoy. Um, Magic Colossus 4, Ashley Allen's the writer. Artist is Herman Peralta. Color artist Arthur Halsey. Letter VC's Ariana Maurer. And I got the variant cover by Nogi San. It was the only solo Magic cover, so yeah, I'm not gonna. We start the issue with the Rasputin household in the UST Orinsky Collective, Russia then. Ilyana's returned from the events of Uncanny X-Men 160 and the heartbreaking events of the original Magic miniseries. Piotr has brought her to reintroduce her to the parents. Um, oh yeah, and you can read these reviews. I think this one goes up on Monday, and then I'll be doing the Uncanny X-Men review on Tuesday on my home of the internet, shadowandflameofmagic.com. Which I do appreciate everyone who goes to the website as I definitely seeing all the additional views and everything, and clearly I should have been doing this much longer. And so it also feels great to be posting content online. Um, their parents are naturally confused to see a teenage Ileana, as I can only imagine less than a week or month ago, they probably talked to her on the phone and she was barely 8 then. I can only imagine Peter has not kept them updated on all of his zany adventures, as yes, this is super shocking, but also his life is crazy. Now, could he have called them ahead of time? Yes. Should he have called them ahead of time? Also, yes. Is it fun to answer questions? Yes. If you have any questions, ask them below, comment below. I imagine this takes place after Magic Volume 1-4, when she tries to meet her parents a second time. They must have forgotten this first attempt, or this current scene reinforces the original scene. They were at Baba Yaga's house, West Serbian Tiaga, Russia now. I really do like how they address that Lada is not actually Baba Yaga, as anyone who also read Wiccan's Witches Road 5 out 2 weeks ago, maybe. Baba Yaga showed up there, so we thought this was the beginning of a huge comeback for the character. Turns out Cows just likes calling her that, as that's what the children called her, as she's a witch who lives in the woods. Not the most original of nicknames. Lada is, however, the sister of Korshay, the big bad of this miniseries, and who we fully met last issue. Nice how this miniseries is dealing with siblings. It's a theme, everybody. Naturally, Lada's a native cause and was caught off guard by the Rasputin siblings, so if fight breaks out. Oh, speaking of fights, people have been nice enough to let me know that Loki gets reference if Magic is in a match with Devil Dinosaur, and so I've been trying to play Marvel Rivals, and um, it did not happen in my first match, and in the middle of my second match, the game shut down on me. So I am going to try to do 3 Marvel Rival matches a night and see if I can, um, recreate that thing. But I can never get Star-Lord and Jean Grey to chat together, so. Yeah, see how that all works out. If you know how to make Jean Grey talk to Star-Lord for sure, comment below. Um, and I like seeing a lot of open her own portal deal with Magic, though it is triggering as Ilion has a lousy history dealing with other people's portals. Colossus gets a cool moment depowering so he can use Lotta's transform size against her and flips her over. He has strategies. I also like how annoyed he is. Magic mentions how her and Cyclops dealt with a situation similar to this, so she's trying to take charge of the situation. These two really do not, they have a lot of issues to work out, so they don't have great communication skills. Also, they're rarely on the same team together, so they don't have battle experience together. There's no field trust. I know for sure they were an extraordinary X-Men together, but I don't know if they've really worked together beforehand. Cows finally calms things down with Lotta. Honestly, the entire miniseries could just be Ilyana and PR talking about everyone they know in common. I guess we have to stop referring to Ilyana and Scott as siblings, as she doesn't view it that way. They're best friends, which I simply love Ilyana saying that about Scott, as they really are. Ever since the Bendis era of Uncanny, Volume 3. They had been written as best friends. Gillian got them on the same Uncanny team for Volume 2, Scott's Extinction team, but Bendis really made them pals. They have been best friends really ever since. Peter is still dealing with his guilt over killing Kayla in the X-Force series of Krakoa, Volume 6. So it was his body that did it, not his mind, but he's still having guilt about it. Nice to see him doing the grief and anything relating to the Krakoa era. I love Alan Peralta so much for crafting the story that we get the best hug of 2026 with the Rasputin siblings. Elsie and Maurer color and letter respectfully the heck out of this page. Seeing the hug triggers a lot of think about her growing up with Koschei. He's a bad dude. He's also like a Russian Voldemort. Yeah, I said his name, and that he's breaking up his soul into random items. One of those items is Lotta's necklace. She's keeping a piece of his soul so he can't ever become too powerful. Cows has a very cool chat with Colossus. Cows really respects magic as she should. They chat about the concept of putting a piece of one's soul in an item. Colossus would never do that to magic to control or stop her. Cows mentions how he would never need to do that as magic doesn't trust him with a piece of her soul. She'd rather put it inside a weapon, which is such a powerful line. Um, well, looking at this panel now, I'm pretty sure this is when the Kazi swap takes place. I didn't think so because Cow's love of referring to himself in the third person. I really do love both Magic and Colossus are still covered in mud from their earlier fight. That Rasputin's truly are always taking one step back. Piotr ponders what if Limbo didn't happen if they were not mutants. Ileana is so bored of this conversation. I imagine Kitty probably attempted it once and never again. Whereas I feel like I've seen Piotr attempt this conversation multiple times. Ileana is magic. Ileana is the Dark Child. Limbo did happen. I'm sure the idea of what if grew old during her first year of Limbo and the abuse she suffered at the hands of Sam and Belasco. She doesn't ever have to wonder about that question. We get the Cowsy was Cow's reveal. Magic tries to attack him, but he overpowers her. I'm sure it was because of the shock of the situation. Kashe takes Lotta's powers as he does that. Issue ends with Kashe attacking the Rasputins. Is the final issue just going to be a battle sequence? Maybe, but we just have to see when that comes out. Uncanny X-Men Volume 6, 28. Writers Gail Simone. Artist is Luciana Vecchio. Color artist is Matthew Wilson. Letter VC's Clayton Cowles. Who's Been Sleeping in My Bed, Part 3. Gray Malkin Prison. Scurvy dies as Warden Ellis gives us some more of her backstory. He's only 24 years old, which causes a question how old she is. She's a doctor, a podcaster, a warden. I mean, she's at least 30, probably. As soon as Scurvy dies, Prisoner X takes over his body. Prisoner X is Ellis's brother, Oscar, but he wants to be known as Perimeter. Sure. He has the mutant ability to warp reality, just like Proteus and Jamie Braddock. Monet has been waiting for this moment to happen. Nice that we got to see Siren Fawn, Fred Dukes, and Sarah Grunt again. Xavier's School for Gifted Youngsters, Somewhere, Some When. Magik Colossus and Mr. S's X-Men are fighting off the zombie sentinels, which is cool. But my favorite part is that Jitter's love for Calicchio comes through, so their real personalities are coming through. Poor Becca, she must have been so confused at why these new emotions felt so strong. Cal Jitter is just simply the best. Butina, who if they sewed her all different, all new mutants outfit with the cat ears, I would totally buy that jacket. Jitter is epileptic, as we learn when she's having a Jacksonian March. Caesar. Does that explain her stutter? I just figured it was due to her child abuse. No, unfortunately. Becca is told Jitter needs a med bay and starts clearing the way. Probably smart not to take Jitter along with her as Ember and her are on fire. This horse is on fire. Alicia Keys is just the best. This is such a cool image. The CEO is slaying it with this arc, and it's Death Dream creating a giant demon behind him, and the rest of the team getting ready to get Jitter to safety. Ransom tells Death Dream that they have to get Jitter to safety, whatever it takes, which ever since Avengers Game, I love it when people repeat whatever it takes once they hear it. But Tina figures out the X-Men are fake, more like X-Men, right? Cute that we see Ember and Clecio fighting off zombie sentinels in the distance, but Tina stabs Nightcrawler as he's not real. Referencing things that are not real, Ella starts giving us Perimeter's backstory. He's been torturing her since she was 8 and he was 10. That's just what happens when someone has reality warping powers. He also killed their parents, so she does have a reason to hate mutants. Well, a reason to hate one mutant in particular, being racist about it is a second choice being made. When A shows up ready to fight Perimeter, I guess his name is because he has no perimeter. I get the sense that the two have fought before, probably how they got him in the prison to begin with. Though it is odd they had to turn this into a prison. Couldn't this have just gone the X Factor route and Ellis having a mutant team prepared to attack her brother if he ever got out? Provide them a room and board and treat them like actual people? Imprisoning them is another choice. Also, where is Dazzler? It is at this point that I'm wondering if Perimeter is the reason the Outliers are in this weird alt place, but Matina states they are AI later, so maybe that doesn't add up. During the Haven House, Rogue is trying to talk to the New Mutants about their history together. Rogue has been training them for a year to kill the Avengers. They're getting tired of all these questions. Gambit's on his way home. If Vic finds anything, he'll let Gambit know. Magik Colossus is ready to kill Matina, and Ransom isn't too fond of her at the moment. Matina reveals her mutant powers. She has the ability to read people's emotions, which is fine as long as she isn't controlling those emotions, as that's always a gross power. Um, and I guess she can't manipulate them either, like Axel. Matina versus Kalogic, um, which I keep using these names, implying you remember the previous issue, but the X-Men are run by Sauron, going by Mr. S, and then Magik has Colossus's powers, and then Colossus has Magik's powers, and her headdress thingies. Um, but they're all AI, so is Arcade behind this? Gambit makes it home just in time for the New Mutants to attack. Ransom fights Magik Colossus, Matina versus Kalagic. I like how they both have giant swords. That's pretty cool. Kalikyo and Ember finally make it to the mansion, Dr. McTaggart, but she doesn't have a face. I imagine they got there too quickly, so Mad McTaggart's programming hadn't caught up to it yet. Rogue versus Cannonball. She doesn't know how to fight him as he's nigh invulnerable while he's blasting. Though I did expect her to have the thought that he's only nigh invulnerable, leaving her some wiggle room. Gambit grows vampire wings to catch up to Rogue, so that's where the cover image comes from. Issue ends up Monet versus Perimeter, but she's not alone. She's brought reinforcements, which is the cliffhanger line. Like, okay, is her backup just going to be Fawn, Fred Dukes, and Sarah Grunt? Maybe with Dazzler? Or are we getting a Generation X team up? Well, minus Jubilee. We'll find out next issue. But I'm really enjoying this arc. And then we'll just knock out these last three. Wolverine Volume 820, Logan fights Adamantine. Looks like he's going to be missing his claws on his left hand, but at least he has the Adamantium claws on his right. He's joined by Alt Logan's. Issue ends with him back on Earth and saying goodbye to Silver Sable. Nightcrawler's in the next issue, so hopefully we address the Silver Sable relationship drama in that issue. Ultimate Endgame 4, with Ultimate Magic being killed by Logan, my interest is completely gone with this ending. It is taking way too long. P. Parker perhaps died, Captain America is definitely dead, and the Maker is free. We have issue 5 finale and perhaps Reborn to deal with for the Ultimate Universe, the second one. Iron Man 5, you can tell I have only been looking at the pretty art by Carmen Carnero and Nolan Woolward. It wasn't until Tony announced he was creating his own science team that I finally noticed Melrose Morrison, a slender blonde with bangs and an attitude. I was like, is this magic? Melrose Morrison seems pretty cool. She's been around since the second issue of this volume. Carnero got some assistance from Jan Bazadula this issue, but I couldn't tell where. Apparently, and thanks to Marvel fandom, she suffered an injury during issues 4 and 5 and will be back full time with issue 8. So hopefully she's recovering well. Next week's comics will be X-Men United 3, which the preview pages shows us the Captain America, Jitter, and Melee, and Laura Captain America adventure, but the cover also implies Emma's getting between Magneto and Beast, 70s Beast. Moonstar 3, which feels like forever since issue 2 came out. Inglorious X-Force 5, best team dynamics in a comic. Rogue 5, which should be the final issue. Psi Dimensional Rivals 5, which should also be its final issue. Um, Sorcerer Supreme 6, still checking to see if Malin Pryor ever shows up again. Ultimate Impact Reborn 1, which feels weird as Ultimate Universe isn't done yet, but here we are. Wolverine Weapons of Armageddon 4, which should be the final one of that. I still do not know how this launches into a giant crossover, but sure. In the top 10 X titles, X-Men United 1, Magik Colossus 4, just shot itself to the top. Moonstar 3, or no, Moonstar 2, expect issue 3 to show up. Avengers Volume 934, Generation X 23-1. And then at number 6, Sorcerer Supreme 3, X-Men Volume 728, Uncanny X-Men Volume 628, so 2 issues added to the list. Wolverine Volume 817, and Cyclops Volume 4 2. So, pretty great week of comics coming up. So thank you everyone for listening and watching if you're one of our YouTube friends. And as you enjoy the rest of your week, please have no shadows of doubt. Ignite those flames and make like magic and enjoy yourself out there. And thank you so much for listening or watching, and I will talk to you next time. You can follow me on socials at JackalsIII. The podcast socials are S&FwM, the and spelt out. We're doing more things on Instagram, and we're getting more followers, so we appreciate everyone who's finding the account. And if you're a Reddit tier, Daily Lockies out there for you to enjoy. And I will keep working on these conclusions. We almost had it. Almost. All right, everyone. Thanks so much, and I'll talk to you next time. All right. Bye.